This is the Hoops Postgame Show here on 93.7 The Ticket. Thanks for joining myself, Jake Bakoven, in the Ticket studios here on a Sunday night as Nebraska improves to a 12-0 record with a 78-55 beatdown of North Dakota. Of course, didn't start that way. North Dakota with a 2-point lead at halftime, but Nebraska 54 points in the second half. Again, North Dakota 55 for the game. So a heck of a game from Nebraska as they, again, move to 12-0, best start in program history. 8-0 at home, by the way, so definitely defending home court. And interestingly enough, as I mentioned, Nebraska down 26-24 at half. If you're watching the TV broadcast, they mentioned this as well as I was watching them interview Fred Hoiberg and Berke Buchtengel. We'll get to him here in a second. Fourth win for Nebraska after being tied or trailing at the half. Nebraska really came out of the second half, again, down at that point, 26-24, very quickly regained the lead. They're up 30-26 within the first just few minutes there. And it was their first lead since 2-0. I mean, North Dakota really sticking in that game the first half, I think out hustling Nebraska. And also Nebraska just couldn't hit their threes. If you watch that first half, Nebraska 2 of 18 from beyond the arc to get that thing going in the first half. Second half, a lot more cutting to the basket, a lot more trying to get to the hoop. So they finished 6 of 27. Still not ideal from beyond the arc, but they started to hit a few. So what, that'd be 4 of 9 in the second half. So a little bit of change in philosophy, how they were attacking the Fighting Hawks defense. And the biggest the biggest benefiter of that might have been Berke Buchtengel, as he had teammates cutting all over the place tonight. Couple bounce passes leading to assists. Altogether 10 assists tonight for Berke Buchtengel, leading the team, which had 22 assists for the evening. But I'm burying the lead. Let's just get right into it for Berke. A triple-double. 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. Of course, Nebraska basketball has been around for quite some time. Let's count them up now. 4 triple-doubles in the Fred Hoiberg era. Cam Mack got it going in the first year for Nebraska, which, by the way, first year, they did lose to this North Dakota team under Fred Hoiberg. Obviously, a different North Dakota Fighting Hawks squad, but still kind of also a telling sign of how long Nebraska's, or how far Nebraska's come. Probably a better way to put it there. So Cam Mack got the first one. Delano Banton, if you remember, got the second one against Doane. And then this year, we've had 2 of them from both the starting big men for Nebraska. Rink Mass, I wouldn't say you'd expect it because triple doubles, like I said, hard to come by in Nebraska basketball history. But he was able to get one earlier this year. And now Berke Buchtengel, now the fourth to do so. So incredible game from Berke. Really an incredible second half from Jamarcus Lawrence, from Sam Hoiberg. I mean, you look at the scoring column in this. Certainly don't want to leave out Braden Frager off the bench. It was a big part of cutting to the basket and really providing a mismatch for North Dakota in the second half. He finished with 17, 9 of those points being in the second half, so pretty balanced there. But it was just kind of interesting because, you know, as this team continues to grow here, you know, there's different roles evolving, this and that. But this was not the best night for the star players. I think the star players now, or at least the leading scorers for Nebraska at this point, have been ironed out at this point in the season. Rink Mast and Price Sanford, who both helped lead this team in scoring. I beat both of them just a shade under 18 points per game. Today, for the 2 of them combined, 5 of 16 from the floor. Price specifically had trouble getting going there. Only 3 of 10 from the field. 7 points for him, 7 points for Rink Mast. But again, it's those role players stepping up in their roles tonight. Certainly the triple-double from Berke, but Sam Hoiberg, a big part of that in the second half. He continues to have to impress with his assist-to-turnover ratio coming into tonight. I think he had in the last 4 games like a 13-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, as I believe what it would be. Now that's moving up. Only 4, I shouldn't say only, but 4 assists tonight, 0 turnovers for Hoiberg. And I remember there was a double team there in the second half too, where it looked like he lost the ball. And you have to keep in mind, I don't have the sound on. I don't know how close it was. Maybe it was a clear foul, but North Dakota player got the ball. It's kind of fun as that stat came out this week. Now I'm looking out for Sam Hoiberg, hoping he doesn't get any turnovers, so he can improve on that assist to turnover ratio. By the way, too, Berke Buitengel, as part of that triple double, 10 assists, only 1 turnover from Berke this evening. So very impressive for Nebraska. And again, it was really all about the second half. I think maybe the more important thing to take out of this game, the more interesting might be how close this game was in the first half, and we can certainly dive into that. But overall, I think it's just Nebraska again. The story you want to be told is 54 points in that second half. And again, part of that was cutting. A lot of launching threes in the first half. Just wasn't a good night shooting for Nebraska. It wasn't that they were bad looks, and in certain times they were great looks that really that at this season had been falling. But they had to make that adjustment and attack North Dakota a different style. And once again, 24 points in the first half for Nebraska, 54 in the second half. So beating the first half effort by 30 points. Quite the impressive deal for the Huskers. Part of that, again, too, was eliminating turnovers. Nebraska with 4 turnovers in the first half. Not bad, right? But this is a North Dakota team that averages 10 steals a game. And not that they were quite on pace for that, but those 4 turnovers for Nebraska did come in that first half via steal from North Dakota. And again, I felt like the Fighting Hawks just wanted it a little bit more. They were maybe getting up for playing the number 15 team here in the country. And not to say that Nebraska wasn't ready or wasn't prepared and all that, again, because some of those threes had been falling earlier this year. But there have been a few games where Nebraska struggled to find the hoop from beyond the arc, and that's pretty much their identity. So they had to switch that a little bit here. But North Dakota did come out scrapping, fighting, looking for the upset. And this was a North Dakota team that came in here, remember, at 5-9 on the season. So now they dropped to 5-10. So you think, maybe this should be just a run-of-the-mill victory for Nebraska. And if you look at the final score, it might look like that. But North Dakota, coming off a victory over Winthrop, remember, who had tested Nebraska pretty well. They had a buzzer-beating victory over Winthrop. I already mentioned they won 6 years ago on this court against Nebraska at Pinnacle Bank Arena in Fred's first season. Also, I think it was 2 years ago, gave Nebraska quite a test as well. So North Dakota's been game for a pretty good matchup. I think tonight, again, you might be able to say that next time they come in town. Okay, you go back and say, okay, well, last time they were in the building, they had a 2-point lead over the 15th ranked Husker team. But again, that's not how all of this came about by the end. But North Dakota jumped out to an 8-2 lead after the first 4 minutes. Again, Nebraska at that time, 1 of 7 from the field, 0 of 6 from beyond the arc. So clearly, part of tonight was going to be, if you can get shooting, get hot from beyond the arc, so be it. I mean, again, that's part of Nebraska's offense. Now, what I was impressed with maybe kind of stopping the bleeding in the first half was Coach Hoiberg drawing up some things to get Nebraska in the scoring column. Coming out of that first 4-minute break, they got the ball to rink mass immediately in the paint to cut the lead to 18-4. 8-4. 18-4 would have been a bigger mess to pile out of. But they were down 13-6 by the second break. So around 12 minutes to go in the first half. And at that time, 0 of 9 from beyond the arc. But once again, as I said, Coach Hoiberg did an excellent job of drawing some things up. So they got another bucket in out of their timeout. A pass from Jamarcus Lawrence into a cutting Braden Frager. So that was part of the deal in the first half. Is Nebraska was just struggling to hit their shots, and they needed some plays drawn up again out of the breaks to get it going. Finally, we had a 3. I think there was about 9 minutes left in the first half. Jared Garcia, who's had more of a role over the last couple of games, maybe a little bit less today, but at least he got a 3 to go in to cut the lead to 16-11 with, again, about 9 minutes to go there. That's when it kind of got interesting, too. I think North Dakota went on had a little bit of a problem scoring. Then you could kind of identify it. North Dakota was doing well. They'd hit some threes, too, throughout this game. They finished 10 of 29, 34% from beyond the arc. Not a bad percentage. but you could see their offense kind of stalling, and that's part of, again, credit to Nebraska's defense. It's been like that all year long. They're willing to kind of get into shootouts with you, but they're not willing to allow you to get in the paint. And North Dakota didn't really have a great roster to do so. They were, by the way, without one of their 3-point shooters in Zach Kraft, who averages about 6 3-point shot attempts per game, 39% from beyond the arc so far this year. I'm sure they would have loved to have him in a game like this where they get off 29 3-pointers. But they just didn't really have the bodies to really do it. Now that being said, they were getting touches in the big in the paint with their bigs, and that was part of the story too. They missed maybe about 3 or 4 point blank layups there in the first half, so they could have had a bigger lead than what ended up being 26-24. And by the way, credit to Hoiberg there, the player this time, not the coach, Sam Hoiberg for, and maybe the coach too, actually, because it was screened off pretty well by Rink Mass. But Hoiberg scored there with about 10 seconds to go to cut the lead to 2 going into the half. But definitely, I'm sure there were some nervous feelings in the building, not just in that locker room, but in the building. And I'm interested to hear from Austin when he joins me. Austin Orman was at the game, and he'll kind of break it down when he's able to join me. He's at the press conference right now, so we'll see what Coach Hoiberg had to say in the presser. Some of the players had to say in the presser after the game, but I'm sure it was a little bit of a nervous feeling for Nebraska. I mean, the last thing you want as a newly crowned 15th ranked team in the country, and of course, protecting an 11-0 record at that time, is an upset from North Dakota. I mean, that 5-10, 5-9 team at the time, I should say, will shoot you down those rankings a little bit. Maybe have questions of whether Nebraska truly is ready to take that next step, and whether that's fair or not, right? I mean, 11-0 starts pretty good, regardless. The game of basketball sometimes in a game like this, when the shots aren't falling, it can creep up on you. You can lose those games, and that's what North Dakota was thinking at the half. But then again, Coach Hoiberg said in the interview there on BTN that it wasn't some sort of light a fire underneath them type of speech at the halftime. They just made the proper adjustments and no longer saying, okay, hey, you know what, guys, launching threes. I mean, usually we can get this going, but you got to hit a certain percentage, and we're not getting it. But we do see some openings in this North Dakota defense. And again, coaching there, they talked to Berke, and Berke said after the game, credit to the coaching staff, credit to his teammates. And he put it as an easier way to get a triple double. Again, there's no easy way to get a triple double, but they kind of schemed it around him because they noticed, kind of how they were guarding him and the space they were giving him to be able to make those cuts. And so Nebraska made that adjustment and took off from there. The second half, again, as we jump into that, little less to talk about there because Nebraska just jumped out. I mean, and so whatever it was coming out of that second half, DeMarcus Lawrence hit a big three there. They came out, tied the game right away. The three, I believe, gave them their first lead to 2-0, and they just kind of slowly were expanding that lead. Not too slowly, like I said, they scored 54 points in the second half. So we're getting it there, got it up to double digits, and we're feeling really pretty good about it. Now, North Dakota did hit back-to-back threes with about 10 minutes left to cut it to 10. That seemed to be kind of their last time to maybe kind of have any hope that maybe they could go on a little bit of run. But Hoiberg got fouled after that, hit his free throws, and then a Lawrence steal that led straightly to 2 points, gave Nebraska that 14-point lead once again. And I think that was big. I mean, I think that was kind of the closing the deal. North Dakota, again, hit a couple threes there late. At that point, the game was out of hand, but to make the score a little bit closer. And Nebraska just kept attacking. I mean, I thought that was impressive. For the most part, this was a game that North Dakota was keeping somewhat in hand reach. Like I said, 10 points with 7 minutes to go. So this was not a big game for unleashing the bench. In fact, Leo Curtis, Justin Bolus, Kendall Blue all did get in at the end, but just 1 to 2 minutes played amongst them. So this was a game that they used kind of their core 8, if you will. Should be noted too, and I'm sure the question will be after the game as well about Ugir Savicius not playing. They thought they were hoping at one point to be able to get him in, for these final 2 games in December. but apparently maybe not quite there with that. We do have a text, by the way. You can chime in 402-464-5685 on the Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line. Give us your thoughts on today's game. 8660 says, with Oogie not playing, do you think he had a setback? Man, I really thought we would have seen him. And yeah, so that's what again, waiting to hear from Austin, waiting to hear, post this, this press conference to see what was kind of holding it back, because for Nebraska's growth throughout the season, and for another option there as a stretch big that can shoot and kind of blend in perfectly with this roster, we want to see Oogie out there. We want to see Oogie in a Husker uniform. Haven't been able to see that quite yet. So I'm very interested. Again, hopefully the timeline not too much thrown off through all of that. We do have some thoughts here too on YouTube, so we can get to those. Quinn Ian Kelly says, way to come out and dominate that second half. Just keep winning, GBR. Absolutely. He also says, just need Mast and Sanford to lead the charge in Big Ten games. These games are where the role players need to step up. Love we got to see to rest Mast a lot too there. So some good points there. I mean, it's a type of performance there, especially in the start of the first half, or just the first half in general, against some pretty good opponents. You might be buried a little bit more than 2 points there. For what it's worth, for both teams, that was a season low in the first half. Nebraska only scoring 24 points to start this game. North Dakota, again, 26 points to start this game. So interesting thoughts there. Obviously you'd love to see both of them get going, but there's been a few games, I would say, for Nebraska this year where they haven't been at full charge, right? And thankfully it's not against Oklahoma or New Mexico or Kansas State or Creighton or Wisconsin or Illinois. I mean, they've been pretty much coming out firing there. I mean, I would say the Maryland Eastern Shore game struggled a little bit. SC Upstate. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of worked out well, and things maybe, part of this 12-0 start, why it's so difficult to do is sometimes you just kind of need the luck to be on your side too. So when you're going to have an off day, maybe have it be versus an off team, and maybe from there you can kind of get back into it on talent and outwork them. And that's what's kind of happened for Nebraska so far in the start. I don't know if we've seen the best effort, or I don't want to say the best effort, but the best look. I mean, we didn't see the type of team today in that first half, certainly in the second half, that I think would be needed to beat Illinois on the road, which they did, right? Or to beat Wisconsin by 30 or Creighton by 21. So it's kind of just worked out a little bit well that Nebraska's off days, if you will, are showing up against these I don't say bad teams, but the lighter opponents on the schedule. But yeah, hey, you'll keep taking it at some point, and hopefully against New Hampshire here, when they get to play the Wildcats on the 30th, which will be Tuesday, they can get it going again. By the way, that game 8 p.m. late start. So if you get kind of Christmas vacation there, that would be a good thing to kind of look out for and see if Nebraska can keep it rolling there. Assume they will. The Wildcats 4-8 on the season, 0-7 away from home. So should be another chance to tune it up, and maybe we'll see Uyghur Savicius there. Josh and Davey saying, Bach, why do these guys wear bras? You can see it, it's kind of one of those new. I don't have the perfect answer for you. I wish I did. I can probably read a little bit more into it, but obviously, it is something that they've added that we've seen across basketball. It kind of shows through Nebraska's white uniforms a little bit more, or anybody's white uniforms there, but obviously part of their training. So I'll look into that a little bit more, see exactly what's that doing for them. But I've noticed that too, so I think that's probably a fair critique. But again, it's not just Nebraska doing it. A couple more thoughts here. Not too many thoughts, but just some cheering from Lou and Isaac, both saying go Big Red as well. And indeed, go Big Red as they get the win here today against their competition at home, North Dakota, 78-55. Once again, 54 points in the second half as Nebraska improves to 12-0. Also, I mean, shout out from the hilltops for Barricade Buchtengel. This is a guy that has struggled a little bit offensively this year. I think it's going into this game. I think his 3-point percentage got as low as 11%, I believe, on the year. It's up to 17% entering this game. So definitely not where you want to be if you're Bear King. We've seen over the last several games now teams adjusting to that, really laying off him for those 3-point attempts. Tonight, 1 of 3, and the big one there at the end that was able to get him into the 12th point. The 3 there, he had 9 points. He was sitting, just needing 1 point for a triple-double, and it was the 3-pointer that got him there. That assist, by the way, if you saw it at the end, behind the back assist to Sam Hoiberg, who was cutting. Very impressive, maybe one among the most impressive for Bear K today. And by the way, too, I know there was a moment earlier in that first half. I thought he was going to get offensive 3 seconds because he was camping in the post wide open. I think Garcia had the ball and was looking to score himself, but maybe could have got that triple-double a little bit earlier with that. But again, with Bear K too, it's obviously on a night where you score 12, 11, and 10 and only have 1 turnover, it's a night to celebrate. But he's been really good all year long on the defensive end. His length obviously is a problem. Got another block tonight. Been really good rebounding. Again, 11 rebounds tonight to lead the team. Only a guy in double digits, Rick Mass with 9 himself, but 4 of those being offensive rebounds for Bear K Buchtengel. And as I continue to say, for this season, part of the excitement is not just how good this team is now, but how much better they can get, because some of these pieces, the more you play with each other, along with your just natural development, through your sophomore year, junior year, freshman year, in Brendan Frager's case, whatever the case may be, there's several players. And I think Bear K Buchtengel is a great example of a guy that is only going to get better, right? And maybe we're seeing that happen in front of our eyes. Price Sanford, of course, has taken a huge step from his playing days at Iowa. Maybe not the game to kind of highlight, but that first half in the last game against Illinois sure was. Rick Mass is as steady as you'll get. Jamarcus Lawrence, obviously, in his senior year. Sam Hoiberg, I think, continues to improve. But, and then obviously for the improvement, Braden Frager is only going to get better as the season goes along as well. And he had a really good game. So we're about to take a break. I do want to at least give an opportunity here from Drew and Wahoo's, who can help me out with maybe the bras question. He said, I Googled it. He says the bras hold a small GPS-enabled tracking device between their shoulder blades, capturing data on movement, distance, speed, heart rate to help coaches analyze workload, prevent injuries, and optimize training for peak performance. So, yes, dude, that's a great way to put it. That's not exactly how I was able to spit it out, but I knew it was kind of to track some things for them and help their performance there. So that's what's going on there. Thanks to Drew and Wahoo. Shout out to you for helping me through that question. Also, Queenie and Kelly says, great work as always, Bach. Love the post game for Nebraska ball. Well, we love to do it. And so we will take a quick break, though, because we are up against it. I'm going to work to get Austin's thoughts on the game and on the press conference as well. We can do that next year on the Who's Postgame Show. Once again, Nebraska 78, North Dakota 55. Your Huskers now 12-0 on the year. We'll be back with more Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, and family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetable, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Hey guys, it's Carly from Boyd Farm Outfitters. Farmers, the Nebraska Ag Expo is coming up on December 9th through 11th at the Sandhills Global Event Center, and we'd love to see you there. Our team will be in 2 places at once, in the Boyd Farm Outfitters booth and the Green Eye Technology booth, which are both in the Currency building. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and X at BoydFO to see what we've been working on. Again, that's BOECKFO on social media. We look forward to seeing you at the Expo.
Staying profitable means finding smarter, more efficient ways to farm. Those decisions turn hard work into something worth passing down. Join us at the Sandhills Global Event Center in Lincoln for the Nebraska Ag Expo on December 9th through 11th, where agriculture meets innovation. From big iron and livestock production to the latest in ag tech and soil health, discover the solutions that can help you do more with less and protect your legacy for generations to come. Sponsored in part by Farm Credit Services of America and Ag Direct.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Dana Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Dana Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Dana Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at DanaTrucking.com.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between, we'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, hold inside position and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, the number one fastest growing GMC dealer in the Omaha and Lincoln area. We are going to keep this train rolling in a big way with new half-ton and 4x4 pickup trucks starting at $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You heard that right, $12,500 off list price or 0% financing. You pick which one works better for you. Please stop on in the dealership and meet the team or check us out at koppelcars.com. Stock number C280930. All deals with approved credit.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Husker Hoops post-game show on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bakoven in studio, and he is Austin Orman, now joining me from Pinnacle Bank Arena, where he saw a little bit of history tonight. Berke Buchtengel with just the fourth triple-double in Nebraska history. But again, as part of telling you why this team is so good, the second one this year. All that being said, I don't know if I was expecting a Berke Buchtengel triple-double this season, but it was definitely beautiful to see. Tale of two halves, certainly, Austin, as we bring you in here. The first question I wanted to ask you, was there nervousness in the building at the end of the first half and at halftime, or was maybe there kind of a feeling that Nebraska eventually was going to start kind of hitting some of those shots they were missing?
I think if this would have been 5 years ago, there would have been more nervousness, but I think this team has earned that benefit of the doubt from Nebraska fans. Incredible crowd at Pinnacle Bank Arena. One of the best, Christmas break type crowds I've seen at PBA in a long time. And, fans were certainly unpleased. They weren't thrilled with the way Nebraska was playing, but I never sensed an angry crowd. I never sensed them getting too uptight. North Dakota was never really able to stretch the lead to a breaking point, right? The largest lead for the Hawks in this one was 9 points, which they did reach about 6.5 minutes into the game, where Nebraska had only scored 4 points. Largest run of the day, only 8-0 for North Dakota. When you think about 10 being kind of that magic number for where you really feel like you have a good chance to win a game or take control of a game. So Nebraska was always within arm's reach, even though the Huskers started the game off 0 of 10 from 3. It took Jared Garcia in the right corner to take the lid off. And Nebraska in the first half ended up shooting, I think it was just like 2 of 18. 2 of 18 from 3 in the first half. So the fact that Nebraska was able to keep it at arm's length, within arm's reach, I should say. North Dakota didn't shoot it well. Nebraska didn't shoot it well. That's just kind of what we've come to expect from this game before, Bach, which, funny enough, this is actually the most impressive win Nebraska's had over North Dakota. They lost to the Fighting Hawks in Fred Hoiberg's first year in this game. They trailed at one point by 14 in the second half back in the 2023-24 season, the team that made the tournament. So we've seen this from Nebraska in this game before. Huskers go on a big run to start the second half and then again in the middle of the second half. And fans had plenty to cheer about from that point on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an interesting game too. Certainly, obviously, the second half, the 54 points there, and we can kind of go over. And I'll just ask you, what was the difference in your eyes from first half to second half? Because 24 points to 54 points, that feels like a different team out there.
It really was. And I think Fred Hoiberg would tell you the different team was actually the one that took the floor in the first half. He was asked about that, and the players were too, Braden Frager and Berke Boyuktengel. Of course, Fred Hoiberg has become famed for having punched a whiteboard last season to inspire Nebraska. He said there wasn't any of that. He didn't, in his words, raise hell with the guys at halftime. He just said, guys, get back to playing our brand of basketball. Fred Hoiberg did credit North Dakota for a couple adjustments of putting a smaller player on rink mass to get up underneath him a little bit more, not give him space to survey the floor and not feel comfortable, which we've seen before in some form or fashion, Bach. You think back to early in the year, that's all West Georgia could do to stay in that game. Florida International did something similar, and Maryland Eastern Shore at times as well. The counter that Nebraska made was to essentially switch positions for Rink Mast and Berke Boyuktengel, right? Instead of Rink Mast being the inbounder in the trailer, they had him start down the floor and be more of the screener, and Berke Boyuktengel be more of the playmaker, which is a nice wrinkle for Nebraska to know that it has. You like Rink Mast in the role that he normally plays because he's consistent at it. You've seen him do it night in, night out. Tonight, the answer was Berke Boyuktengel, and Fred Hoiberg credited that adjustment for opening up the floor for Nebraska, said they just started moving. Right, Nebraska, in his opinion, got a little stagnant in the first half, started forcing some shots. If they go down, great, but he didn't think Nebraska worked for the best possible looks, and he thinks North Dakota kind of sagging that defender off Berke Boyuktengel, which ultimately led to him hitting the three-pointer for the triple-double that I'm sure we'll talk about, opened up the floor for everyone else. When the big man had a chance to survey the floor and guys were able to cut because of it, Nebraska's spacing was off until they made that move. It was a really good one that paid dividends for the Huskers.
Yeah, let's jump into that triple-double once again for Berke Boyuktengel, just the fourth one in Nebraska basketball history. Also the fourth one in Fred Hoiberg's tenure. So he's been able to kind of cross that off Nebraska's list. The second one this year, of course, Rink Mast had one earlier in the season. As you watch it play out, and certainly in the second half, Berke, I don't even know. I think I wrote down a few things in the first half. I don't know if Berke's numbers from the first half really got into it. So a lot of this was in the second half.
I got the numbers here, Bach. So in the first half, Berke Boyuktengel had 2 points on 3 shots, missed his 2 threes, had 5 rebounds and 2 assists, which means if you turn the page to the second half, that's 10 points on 4 of 4 from the field, including that 3-pointer. Did split his free throws that could have ended up being the difference in that, and then 6 second half rebounds and 8 second half assists. I'm on social media during the games, just kind of following what other people are saying and tracking. And it was in the back of my mind, but it didn't really dawn on me that, hey, he actually has a chance to reach this. Even with as well as Nebraska was playing, I thought, oh, that's cute. Yeah, he'll get close. He'll probably get in rebounds. We'll see if he can hit a free throw or two to get there in points. But to me, really, the Berke play of the day, outside of the crashing the glass for tip-ins a couple times, was the behind-the-back dish to Sam Hoiberg. He pulled that off, and I wasn't sure, A, that Sam Hoiberg was going to put that shot up, or B, that he would be able to finish it. It was kind of an awkward shot from Hoiberg. If he takes that reverse layup off the dribble, it looks pretty normal. But you had a quasi post-up, look kind of like a Mikan drill, a reverse Mikan drill for those of you who have done that before, off a behind-the-back pass from Berke Boyuktengel, right? That's how you know he's feeling good, when he can pull off something audacious like that. He's tried it before. It hasn't necessarily worked. But as soon as he got that assist to push him to 10 assists on the day. I'm like, okay, Fred's going to draw something up for him on the next possession. It didn't happen, but that previous adjustment from North Dakota playing their defender that far off of Boyington opened up enough space for him to feel confident enough to take the three. He splashes at home right in front of his own bench, and the crowd goes wild.
Yeah, it was a great moment. Of course, the Bear Cake came into the year 17% from beyond the arc. At that point, 0 for 2 in this game, so it wasn't trending upward. Now it is. Now 1 for 3. Of course, that moves it up, but still a big shot there for him personally, if not for the game, obviously. And it almost goes without saying, but I was saying that it's probably the best that we've seen Bear Cake play, and to your point with that confidence that he had. What I mean, do you think this is going to be a continued trajectory forward? Do you think this was matchup based, particularly in the second half? I mean, what do we make of the Bear Cake triple double here today?
I'll say this is certainly the best box score game Bear Cake Boyington has had. I think it was Wisconsin. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was Wisconsin when Fred Hoiberg said something to the effect of, well, yeah, I mean, it's going to look like Bear Cake played well because you see his impact in the box score. Nebraska has thought that Bear Cake Boyington has played some good basketball for them, even last year, right? That's the guy that he touted throughout the offseason, Fred Hoiberg did, of Bear Cake Boyington as being Nebraska's most impactful defender because of his ability to protect the rim, enough switchability out there on the perimeter, and just how well he clears the glass. So I think in terms of the box score, yes, I mean, the first career triple-double for him, that's obviously going to get the headlines. And yes, he played well. He earned it. Some of it is that North Dakota was smaller. I still think of Boyington more as an X factor. Anything that you get outside of the rebounding category in the box score is a win for Nebraska, I would say. But to his credit, he took advantage of it. So I think the stats will certainly reflect it was probably the most well-rounded game of Bear Cake Boyington's career. But I think Fred Hoiberg would not want fans to sell short the impact that Bear Cake Boyington's made on this team, despite it not always reflecting outside of the rebounding category in the box score.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that, and I agree with it. I mean, 13 rebounds there against Creighton. Of course, that was a big deal. He followed that up with 14 points against Wisconsin. So that's why I'm saying that. I know he didn't have the best game against Illinois, and part of that was foul trouble. But 3 of the last 4 games, he's making some strides in the box score. So I mean, there's a lot you could say about not being on the box score, and that's part of his game. And to that point, his length, his defense. I understood, but eventually you do want it to start hitting the box score.
You sure do. And that's why before the game, I tweeted out something to the effect of, this feels like a Hoiberg, Jacobson, Frager game, right? Scrappy, gritty, make the right play, burst of energy type of guys. And I did consider Boyington in there as well, because he's going to play hard at a bare minimum, but you just never know what it's going to look like for sure, right? So I'm not necessarily surprised that Bear Cake Boyington answered the bell tonight, but he has had the proclivity to just kind of float or disappear sometimes, be in the right position, miss some shots, do the rebounding, but make 1 or 2 mental mistakes. I'm still not 100% confident in Bear Cake Boyington continuing this straight up, right? Progress is never linear, though. So I think Bear Cake Boyington, what I am comfortable saying is he has improved as a basketball player, that he has a defined role on this Nebraska team that he's capable of playing. And Nebraska is better, with Bear Cake Boyington playing his role this year than they were last year.
Yeah. I mean, it was part of kind of what the talk was even this offseason was, man, he's got to improve quite a bit. I think he's done that, through this offseason. By the way, you look at the last 8 games. Okay, so he had 10 assists tonight. Last 8 games. If you don't have his game log in front of you, I'm gonna make you guess. How many assists do you think he had in the last 8 games?
10. Bear in the last 8 games. Did he have 10 combined assists in the last 8 games?
He did not. He had a combined 6 assists in the last 8 games, never more than 1. So to turn that around to 10 assists tonight really is incredible. Like you said, part of that is kind of running the offense through him like Rank Mass. We've seen that under some of the bigs, certainly under Fred Hoiberg. The system is not new to Rank Mass. It's been going on for quite some time. So it's kind of interesting to see Bear Cake in there. And to your point is maybe can you return him to this role if you need to, matchup based down the line?
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to be what Nebraska goes to moving forward. I think this was more matchup based, but Bach, that's kind of what these last couple games of the non-conference are for, right? Rotation seems pretty set. You know who's going to play. One note on that quickly. Saw this on the text line. from 86-60. Ugnius Jurishevicius was available tonight. Fred Hoiberg did note after the game he only had one practice, and it wasn't completely fully live in full speed. So he was available if they needed him tonight. I think if Nebraska had put this one in cruise control, with 10 or 15 minutes to go, we probably would have seen some Oogie, not for extended minutes, but just to get his feet wet, as Fred Hoiberg said. The hope is against New Hampshire coming up on Tuesday the 30th. But at the very least, these games like this against North Dakota late in the non-con are to show that you have the capability sometimes to play a different way, right? Nebraska wants to be able to depend on Price Sanford's outside shooting. He didn't score till there were 8 minutes left. Nebraska wants to be able to depend on Rinkmaster to be that key playmaker and floor stretcher at the 5 position. Rinkmaster was fine. I don't know what his plus minus ended up for the game. Rink was fine. He was solid. 7 points, 9 rebounds, a couple assists for him. But in games like this, I think it's important to find out if you have the ability to play different styles and put different guys in different positions and be able to succeed. The hope is that you don't need it, but at the very least, Nebraska shows it has it in the break glass in case of emergency, case if it needs it.
And it's interesting, too. I was going through this, too, with the schedule. Is Nebraska seems to, and this is going to happen for every team, right? Is you're going to kind of have your ups and downs, your best games, and they don't always match up against the best opponents. But it seems like Nebraska's off games, if you will, are matching up with the gettable opponents. So I think that's part of the 12-0 start. Part of it's just luck sometimes. Basketball is a make and miss sport. And so you're going to have those off games here and there in the first half like today. And it's just kind of happened against, some of the weaker competition. So that's worked out for Nebraska.
I tweeted this, and I'm going to get this dig out for those who didn't see it. The last time that Nebraska came off an 8-day break or essentially played games 8 days apart, Bach, I would argue they had probably their best game against a mid-major this year in dismantling Creighton 71-50. But jokes aside, right, obviously I had to get that one off. Yeah, this was always a weird game for Nebraska, for any team, right? Even, obviously Duke loses last night. They struggled with Lipscomb, first game after their finals, after a long layoff. It's not that Nebraska wasn't necessarily engaged, but you go that long between games in a sport where you're used to playing 2 or 3 times a week. You get out of that rhythm. You have the school stuff, the life stuff to focus on as well. I don't think Nebraska was lazy. I don't think Nebraska was soft. I think it's just the human element of the game that came into play early in this one. And the fact that they were able to keep it close in the first half when they were clearly not at their best is a sign of that maturity, that they hung in there. Then they exploded there in the second half to the tune of, like you said, 54 points, I believe. Yeah, in the second half. So, yeah, it's convenient that Nebraska has had those off nights against this mid-major competition. Here's the thing. Now a 9-day break till Nebraska plays again on the 30th, and then there's no margin for error in Big Ten play. If Nebraska has a first half like that, odds are slim that they'll be able to hang and compete in many games in Big Ten play. I don't think we're done seeing stinker halves from Nebraska. I just don't, right? Every team has them in conference play. But if you want to project forward, the hope is that Nebraska has one of these, against Rutgers or against Penn State. Nebraska's done a good job of getting up for the big games, but let's not even pretend like the start to the Creighton game was pretty early on. It was pretty low scoring through the first 4 or 5 minutes of that one. Wisconsin wasn't exactly a clean start defensively either. This team finds ways to steady itself, and that's really the important point, I think, at the end of the day.
I'm gonna blame you for putting yourself in this position. You brought them up. The Duke Blue Devils fall from the undefeated ranks. Nebraska's still there. Every time Nebraska wins, I can't help but think, we want Duke. We want Duke. Is Nebraska ready for the Blue Devils?
Here's the thing, Bach. When all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, and I understand that with the following analysis. But both Nebraska and Duke have been so good at finishing out close games. I need to find the tweet. I bookmarked it for other discussions at one point. But, some of the close games that Duke has been in, they found ways to win. And to be completely honest, Nebraska has as well. I'm not going to find it. It's too far back at this point. But the thing about how Nebraska's been, right? You think about Oklahoma getting down big and coming back. You think about New Mexico being up big, letting New Mexico crawl back in. At Kansas State pushing that lead to double digits and then really having to scratch, fight, and claw at the end. That's why the Creighton game was such a revelation, I think, for Nebraska to be able to stomp on an opponent's chest and bury him. Same with Wisconsin. On the road, it didn't happen against Illinois. but both Nebraska and Duke this year have been so good at finding ways to finish those games. Eventually, you don't make enough plays, right? Last night for Duke, it was missing a dozen free throws in a 1-point loss, and missing a couple open shots that could have stopped a Texas Tech run sooner. On top of, a couple guys got hot for Texas Tech. They hit some ridiculous shots. Shout out Christian Anderson, an incredible shot-making display. Nebraska will face some of that too. You know, Duke's a young team. It's freshman-led with a couple upperclassmen or returners sprinkled in. Nebraska's the opposite. It's a veteran group with a couple newcomers sprinkled in, but even those guys are old. I don't think Nebraska is going to continue to win all the one-possession games or games that get uncomfortably close. You know, it's hard to do that. It's not necessarily a skill. And I talked about this a little bit 2 episodes ago now on the Corner 3, is that the veterans that Nebraska has gotten and relies on, maybe you can tell me that they have, you know, a bit of an inside track to keeping up some of that late game success because they're not rattled by the moment. They've been in it before. But I'll go throw another cross-board example out there. The Kansas City Chiefs have, you know, at least a top 3 quarterback in football, if not the best quarterback in football, 15-0 in one-score games last year, 1-6 this year. Close game luck across sports, across skill level is not necessarily a skill. You know, it's not all luck, but eventually you get closer to 50-50 the more of these close games that you play, just through the nature of sports. So I think that Nebraska is good in some of these tight games. I think that it could come back to bite them at some point in Big Ten play as well, whether that's Michigan State here at home or on down the line. So I think Nebraska has, you know, raised the floor in the big picture sense with clunker halves and hot halves, certainly as part of the deal. But I do think that there is something to be said for, you know, Nebraska probably won't win every close game, and it's hard to win every close game, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think that rule applies to everybody except for Nebraska football under Scott Frost for a while there. Matt Rule's starting to win some of those one-possession games this past year, so don't overlook that. But
what if I told you Fred Hoiberg has more top 25 wins at Nebraska this year than Matt Rule does in his tenure at Nebraska? Wouldn't that be a crazy thought?
Maybe if only I could remember. And then we're picking on Nebraska football too much, but if only I could really remember a top 25 win for Nebraska. It's been a while. So
I was there, Bach. I was at the last one.
Were you?
As a student, as a fan. That's the last game I ever attended. Yeah, against Oregon. Yeah, that's the second to last game. I think third to last game I've attended as a fan. So that I will never forget that one. Until the next one, of course.
Yes, and hopefully that will be coming aboard soon. Of course, as I asked the question about Duke, Nebraska doesn't have to worry about Duke, but they do have to worry about Michigan State, that all-important game coming Friday, January 2nd. As you mentioned, though, too, they've got New Hampshire coming in December 30th, so they're going to have to worry about that as well. The Wildcats 4-8 so far, so hopefully Nebraska doesn't struggle with them maybe as much as they did with North Dakota this evening. But with that, I would like to go ahead and wrap this segment up. Austin, thanks for joining us live from Pinnacle Bank Arena and breaking this down.
Pleasure is all mine. Thanks for hanging out on the board, Bach. We will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. There he goes. We'll come back with final stats, a little bit of analysis. We'll wrap this post-game show up here. That's coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, and family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetable, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Hey guys, it's Carly from Boyd Farm Outfitters. Farmers, the Nebraska Ag Expo is coming up on December 9th through 11th at the Sand Hills Global Event Center, and we'd love to see you there. Our team will be in 2 places at once, in the Boyd Farm Outfitters booth and the Green Eye Technology booth, which are both in the Currency building. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and X at BoydFO to see what we've been working on. Again, that's BOECKFO on social media. We look forward to seeing you at the expo.
Staying profitable means finding smarter, more efficient ways to farm. Those decisions turn hard work into something worth passing down. Join us at the Sandhills Global Event Center in Lincoln for the Nebraska Ag Expo on December 9th through 11th, where agriculture meets innovation. From big iron and livestock production to the latest in ag tech and soil health, discover the solutions that can help you do more with less and protect your legacy for generations to come. Sponsored in part by Farm Credit Services of America and Ag Direct.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Dana Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Dana Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Dana Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT, from cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
Well, welcome back to the Hoops Postgame Show here on 93.7 The Ticket. Once again, your Huskers getting it done this evening, 78-55 victors over the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. And it was a bit of a fight there in the first half. North Dakota with a 26-24 halftime lead, but Nebraska, again, jumping out in the second half, getting that lead and never relinquishing it, building on it throughout the second half. 54 second half points. 54 second half points for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. As we wrap up the show here, quickly want to get through some of the stats so we can kind of feel about how the Huskers came out of this victory. Again, field goals for the Huskers, 28 of 62. That's good for 45%. Defense tonight did its job. 19 of 57 for North Dakota, just 33% field goal percentage at that time or at the end of the game, I should say, for North Dakota. Again, you do those splits there from the first half. Nebraska finishes 45% from the floor. They were at 28% at the half there. So what is that? About 19 of 30 in the second half, somewhere around there. Very, very, very good second half for the Huskers from the field. The 3-point line, again, not falling for the Huskers. 6 of 27 from beyond the arc. They did hit 4 of those in the second half. North Dakota, meanwhile, 10 of 29. So 34%, for North Dakota, 22% for Nebraska. They will have better 3-point shooting days, but that was part of the game plan, part of the game story here is that Nebraska adjusted from chucking up a bunch of threes to cutting and getting to the hole, and Nebraska was able to do that. 84% free throw percentage for Nebraska, 16 of 19 from the line, and got there 10 more times than North Dakota did. North Dakota pretty solid there, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. That's good for 78%. Nebraska out-rebounded North Dakota 42-30. Also offensively, 11 rebounds for Nebraska on the offensive side, 6 for North Dakota. And I did not say that on purpose. That just came out like that. 22 assists there for Nebraska in this game. And again, a big part of that second half was sharing the ball and guys cutting to the hoop in finishing at the rim. Nebraska with 8 assists in the first half, so 14 assists in the second half. Again, that's pretty darn good considering North Dakota with 13 assists for the game. North Dakota, again, coming in here with 10 steals per game. They did get 6 from Nebraska, but Nebraska was not beaten too bad in that category. They got 5 steals of their own. Nebraska doubles up North Dakota in blocks 2-1. Turnovers, only 6 for the Huskers, 12 for North Dakota. And again, that's a big part of the story is just cutting down on those turnovers. 4 in the first half for the Huskers, just 2 in the final 20 minutes for Nebraska. They also won the fast break points 7-2, dominated points in the paint, as you could tell in that second half, 40-16 for the game. Nebraska again with the largest lead of this game, 25, largest lead for North Dakota. They're 9 points in the first half. Kind of interesting is in a 78-55 win, you do the percentages of the time that each team led. Nebraska only led for 48% of this game, and in North Dakota 47%. Obviously not a 50-50 split because of the time that there was a tie, but that's really an incredible stat coming away from a 78-55 game. North Dakota today was led in the points category by Eli King, who came out looking really good. I was thinking, man, this guy's going to give Nebraska problems. His shot selection dwindled, I thought, throughout the game, and certainly fell off from the start there. For Nebraska, once again, the big news, Berke Buitengel with the 4th triple-double in program history, 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. Price Sanford and Rinkmass both finishing with 7 points tonight. Rinkmass, 9 rebounds to go along with that. Demarcus Lawrence played a big part in that second half, that steal that I mentioned earlier in the show, to kind of push the lead to 14, I thought was big, and came out in the second half too. Big 3. I mean, it was just playing really well to start that second half, helping Nebraska jump out to that lead. He finished with 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 turnovers. Sam Hoiberg, again, trying to improve on that assist to turnover ratio, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. That a boy, Sam. 15 points for the Huskers. That's second on the day only to Braden Frager coming off the bench. 17 points on 5 of 8 shooting, and the young man getting it done from the line for the Huskers today, and part of his performance. 7 of 8 for the line for Braden Frager. Great to see that. Of course, Nebraska had a wonderful upset win over Illinois, and we can talk about it along the way if that's going to be an upset down the line, but Frager didn't have his best game, so it was great to see him bounce back and lead the team in scoring this evening in a big win for the Huskers. A blowout win, I should put it that way. Off the bench, Jared Garcia, the first 3 of the day for the Huskers. That's where he finished in the points column as well, but pitched in 3 rebounds in his 10 minutes as well. Kel Jacobson tonight, 2 points in 16 minutes, 2 rebounds as well to finish out the stats there for you. But that'll wrap it up for myself, Jake Bakoven. Thanks to Austin Orman for joining us from Pinnacle Bank Arena. Thanks to the Huskers for getting it done. These post-game shows are a lot of fun with how well the Huskers are playing. And thanks to you, the listener, for joining in and jumping aboard the fun that we're having here as part of the post-game show. That'll wrap it up for Ticket Weekends this evening. Join us bright and early for early break, 6 o'clock. A lot going on over the weekend. You'll want to hear from the guys and everybody tomorrow throughout the day. So stay tuned for that. Again, our next Husker Hoops post-game show will not be for a while here. Potentially the 30th against New Hampshire. We will see. Not quite sure about our schedule around that time. So that's pretty close to New Year's Eve. So we'll see how it plays out. But one way or the other, Michigan State coming to town on the 2nd, January 2nd, will be very exciting. That'll, again, we'll wrap it up for the post-game show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow.